In this video, I will be showing you how to work with rational numbers. So a rational number is a set of numbers that can be written in fraction form. You may know rational numbers as fractions. A rational number has a numerator and a denominator, and both have to be integers. The first thing you always want to look for when you're dealing with rational numbers are common factors. So a common factor is a number that each the numerator and the denominator, every term in the numerator and denominator, can be divided by. So think of it as something that you can use to simplify your entire fraction. Let's look at this example that I have here, 20 over 40. The greatest common factor between both the numerator and the denominator in this situation is 20, because that is the biggest number that the numerator and the denominator can be divided by. So you would proceed as follows. You would divide both the numerator and the denominator by 20 to get your new reduced fraction, which is 1 over 2. And our greatest common factor in this situation was 20. This fraction is now written in simplified form, which is what you'll be expected to always have your answers in on a test. I'm now going to show you how to add and subtract fractions. The first thing you want to do is find a common denominator between the two fractions. So if we have an example of 7 over 15 minus 3 over 10, in order to subtract them, they need to first have common denominators. So to do this, we want to find something that we can multiply both by to get the same denominator. In this case, we can get them both to 30. So we can multiply 15 by 2 to get to 30. And we can multiply 10 by 3 to get to 30. Now, whatever you do to the denominators, you also have to carry through with the numerators. So we have to also do 7 times 2, which is 14, and 3 times 3, which is 9. And we now have a more doable problem because they have similar denominators. Once this step is done, it is as simple as subtracting the numerators. So we simply do 14 minus 9, which is 5 over 30. And as I mentioned before, your answers always have to be in most simplest form. So since we can divide each, the numerator and the denominator, by 5, we're left with 1 over 6. And that's our final answer for adding and subtracting fractions using a common denominator. When we want to multiply fractions, it's as simple as multiplying the numerators together and then the denominators together. There is no finding of a common denominator. For example, if we have negative 3 over 5 times negative 10 over 21, it's as simple as multiplying numerators together to get 30, and then multiplying straight across with the denominators to get 105. And that is how you go about multiplication. The last thing we need to do is simplify this. So 30 over 105, both of them can be divided by the greatest common factor of 15. So 30 divided by 15 is 2, and 105 divided by 15 is 7. So this is our final answer. The final situation you might encounter is the division of two rational numbers, so two fractions. How you want to tackle this is you multiply the first fraction by the reciprocal of the second fraction. So you're essentially turning a division problem into a multiplication problem. Let's start with an example. If we're given negative 5 over 8 divided by 3 over 7, let's go about it using the steps that we just learned. So the first thing you want to do is take the reciprocal of the second fraction. So the reciprocal, we know, is just the fraction flipped. And the next thing says to now multiply them. So we change this division into a multiplication sign and then simply multiply the second fraction by the first fraction. Now it's as easy as following our multiplication rules, which we learned earlier is multiplying the numerators straight across and the denominators straight across. So we end up with negative 35, which is negative 5 times 7, over 24, which is our 8 times 3. The final thing we want to check is that our fraction is in lowest and simplest terms This one is because there's no greatest common factor that we can divide both the numerator and the denominator by.